All right, welcome back, everybody. Back here at the caster desk, I am Josh Allen, a.k.a. Lord, joined by Elliot Vengsel, a.k.a. Venruki. That was a ridiculous series.
Almost unbelievable what just happened. Follow Esports really coming through. I don't even know what to say. That last match, I didn't expect those two compositions to go up against each other, and Follow Esports now sitting pretty in the top 4 along with Temple Storm and Juveniles, just looking to see who that 4th team is going to be coming up, and that is going to be our next match. Yep,
our next match we will be going into will be Luminosity versus Dream Deferred. And that's going to be a really interesting one. Let's take a look at the brackets really quick to see where we're sitting. Of course, there's Group B. Dream Deferred, it's getting knocked out 2-0 by Juveniles. Juveniles have advanced to the semifinals. Dream Deferred and Luminosity now having to face off against each other here in the final match of Group B to see which of them will be moving on to the semifinals. There's a lot on the line here.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you can see, Temple Storm waiting to see who they're going to be playing against, either Luminosity or Team Dream Deferred, and then we'll have Juveniles going up against Follow Esports. Yep. And these guys will all be competing for those 3 BlizzCon spots. Only one of these teams will not make it through. Every one of them is going to be playing their hearts out.
Yeah, and it's worth noting, too, that once we are out of the group stage, you kind of end up getting sort of a second chance yet again at that BlizzCon trip at the very least, because once you make it to the semifinals, you can still come in 3rd. So we'll have our 2 semifinals, and then those 2 teams will face off against each other. Excuse me, in a 3rd, 4th place match, and that 3rd place will still go to BlizzCon. You don't get the $50,000, but you do still get to go to BlizzCon and a chance at that $250,000 prize pool that's going to be available there.
Yeah, and absolutely for these teams as well. I think going to BlizzCon, getting the opportunity to actually participate in that tournament, and the chance to really win that's the prize for really any WoW player that takes Arena seriously. And I don't think anyone will be disappointed if they leave with 3rd.
Yeah, definitely. So if you do want to follow us along on social media, you can do that on Facebook at Warcraft, Twitter at Warcraft, and of course YouTube and Twitch TV. We are Warcraft there as well. And if you are using Twitter, go ahead and use that hashtag WowEsports to join in the conversation and let everybody know, including here on the stream. We've been putting up a lot of tweets here on the stream as well, letting everybody know just how excited you are for these matches. I know I've been super stoked for every single one of these, and man, that first I can't get over that first series. It was such a good way to kick off the day.
Exactly. Such a good way to kick off the day. And remember, guys, if you guys are looking to buy some very cool Blizzard merchandise, we have 10% off all Blizzard gear using the promo code WOWRTB at gear.blizzard.com. So definitely check that out. Lots of cool stuff there.
Yep. So these teams are just getting themselves ready in these last few moments before we're going into this series. Let's take a quick look at how Luminosity feels going into this match.
I think Vanguard actually takes command pretty well. He always knows what's going on. He can kind of guide us through everything pretty fluidly. He lightens the mood a lot too. It's always fun.
I think as team captain, the things I've done mainly is really just like maybe asking to practice a little more often. I think like the team captain usually just like maybe the person who's willing to fill up the forms, willing to talk, you know. I don't feel like team captain is really that big of a role in WoW just because of the nature of the game.
I don't really think we look at us as having a team captain all that much. We're just kind of all in it together, and we all, make decisions about things. I think the most important thing for me is just getting along as a team, and you just want to have fun.
Even like when we're not talking about WoW, we can just chill and talk about other stuff. It's just fun to play together.
Yeah, we just want to have fun with it. I mean, you obviously want to do well, but doing well requires a lot of the time getting along. And I mean, you just want to get along too.
As you can see in that video, Team Luminosity, very, very humble. I think judging by what we're seeing here, we're going to be seeing them play Turbo in this up-and-coming matchup. It's probably one of the comps they're most comfortable coming in with this tournament. I know they have a lot of practice. Smexon, Vanguards, and Danny Carey's all very well known on the North American ladder, and can be considered the best at their respective classes.
Yeah, they will, of course, have quite a bit of work cut out for them here, as they will be going up against Team Dream Deferred. Let's go ahead and take a look at them real quick and see what their thoughts are.
With me as team captain, the only really thing that I do is I just bug everyone to play, and usually I get ignored, and then we just don't play. Who needs practice when you're good at the game? As team captain, I definitely have a lot of trouble dealing with our Warlock, Beats by Drake, also known as Zevs. And sometimes it's hard to get yelled at for hours on end. Sometimes you have to take a lot of abuse to do good. Well, ultimately, in putting up with my Warlock, I think the reward would be taking home some money and you know, doing well. And I do think that he's a very good player, so it was worth getting him.
Some big words there coming out of Dream Deferred. I love that line. What was it exactly he said? Who needs practice when you're good at the game? I would say probably these guys need a little bit of practice because Luminosity is also very good at the game. So we'll have to see how well their strategy will match up against them. Of course, this will be Jeff actually sitting out for this match. It's going to be Vincent Wong, Zevs, aka Beats by Drake, and Cyfoxy in there playing that. I believe they're actually playing FLS.
Yeah, we're going to have an FLS. Once again, Cyfoxy playing Feral, Zevs on the Affliction Warlock, Vincent Wong on Resto Shaman going up against Luminosity's Turbo Cleave, Smexen playing that Arms Warrior Vanguards on Enhancement Shaman, and Danny here on the Resto Druid. Have we seen this matchup in this tournament so far? I
don't think we've seen a Turbo into an FLS. There was that game of the previous series, which was LSD3, which is a similar overall comp, but obviously there's a very big difference between a Warlock and a Warrior on your team. And of course, the healers are different as well. So I expect that the overall match might go a little bit similar, but it's still going to be interesting to see how these two comps actually match up against each other. It's not one that we actually see happen terribly often. So I'm excited for this match, honestly. Like, again, even just looking at the attitudes between these two teams, Luminosity talking about how they're just kind of here to have fun and hang out and play some World of Warcraft, and maybe we get some prize money and a trip to BlizzCon out of it. And Dream Deferred taking this super seriously, like down to the level of shouting at each other even. Like, it's just such a difference in attitudes coming into this. I'm curious to see which one will end up prevailing.
Yeah, no matter what they say, both these teams want to win this matchup. One of them is on the edge of elimination. The other is looking to move into that top 4 and ultimately win the tournament and compete for those 3 BlizzCon tickets. And looking at this, we're obviously going to be starting on Nagrand Arena. We have Cyfoxy on that Feral Druid, Zevs on the Affliction Warlock, Sneaky Wong on that Shaman, as well as Smexen playing for Luminosity on that Warrior, Vanguards playing the Enhancement Shaman, and Danny Carey on that Resto Druid. This game's going to get underway in just about 15 seconds.
Yep, the match is just about to start. We will be seeing these gates open. Going to follow Smexen out of here because we're going to want to see, is he just going to immediately rush after the opposing team, or does he want to hang back a little bit and try to play a little bit defensively, maybe waiting for Sykesy to come out of stealth? But it looks like they're just going for it. Smexen moving in right away. Immediately, Sykesy jumping out onto him and rooting him in place there for just a second, dropping that stun down as well. It looked like Smexen, though, now off of his mount finally, going to come in here and immediately start going onto Zevs and maybe switching over onto Sykesy for a second. No, it looks like they're going after Zevs still. Zevs actually taking a good chunk of damage there for a second. He's going to go ahead and portal out of there. Now Vanguards might be in a little trouble. He does get caught into that Cyclone for just a second, and he's going to go around here. The other side of the pillar, nice little move there, catching up with Vincent Wong for just a second. But it looks like Dream Deferred actually doing a good job of keeping Luminosity at bay for the moment.
Yeah, they did an excellent job defusing that opener. Smexen came out of the gate with Recklessness, Vanguards with Ascendance, and really, they didn't take any damage at all. They got a Cyfoxy's Trinket as well as Zev's Trinket, and now they're turning around the pressure on it. Danny Carey down to 30% HP. The Safeguard comes out. They might need Rallying Cry as well. There it is. Danny Carey doing everything he can to survive. His Barkskin is about to fade. Looks like he is stabilized using that Tree of Life. So he has Tree of Life Incarnation for this. I think he's using that to counter Cyfoxy's Incarnation. Smexen, Vanguards, and Danny Carey completely on the back foot right now.
Yeah, Danny Carey having to use his Iron Bark there as well. It is an interesting choice to go with the, I like to call it the broccoli form, just to get that little bit of extra burst healing, but it seems to have worked out well for him because that was a ton of burst coming out of Dream Deferred there, and that's what they've become known for in all their matches so far. Now Sykesy just trying to stick onto Vanguards here for just a second. Zevs might be in a little trouble. He looked like he maybe was going to gate away. The Blade Storm comes out. He's caught for just a second here out in the open, taking so much damage from Smexen and Vanguards, but are they going to turn it back around onto Danny Carey? It looks like Sykesy over there just trying to keep the pressure up onto Danny Carey through all of this. They're kind of getting themselves spread out a little bit here, just kind of keeping that spread pressure going, and it's kind of working for them.
Yeah, Danny Carey popping that Nature's Vigil, trying to catch up his team, but the damage coming out of Zevs and Cyfoxy, just too much for him to handle. He has to actually use his Trinket there on offensive Cyclone. He doesn't want to fall even further behind. Vanguard's still under a lot of pressure. He does have that Shaman Wall available if he needs it, but Zev's a little bit on the back foot as well. Vincent Wong throwing out those healing surges is going to be able to top him off. But once again, like we're saying, Smex and Vanguard's just rotting so low. Danny Carey under so much pressure to heal up his teammates. He does have Iron Bark if he needs it. The offensive cooldowns are going to be coming up for around a minute for all of these players, and once that happens, it's going to be scary for both sides.
Yeah, Vincent Wong actually taking a bunch of pressure there for just a second, having to get it away, but Vanguard's getting caught with low health in this full Cyclone. Do they have the follow-up CC onto Danny Carey? He's being very careful with his positioning right now. They did get a short fear onto Vanguard's, but it looks like he's going to be able to get over here. Danny Carey, though, having to go into bear form to avoid, I'm not actually sure if he was trying to avoid something or if he's just going into bear form because he felt like they might have swapped to him. Either way, he does manage to top Vanguard's back off, and now it looks like Luminosity's trying to turn this back around onto Vincent Wong here for just a second. He's very carefully, though, hiding over here behind this pillar. He's going to be able to get a big heal onto himself and be just fine.
Yeah, Zev's getting targeted down. He's trying to summon an Observer. It looks like he is going to get that cast off. Never mind, Smexon Heroic leaps in with that Stormbolt, so he's going to stop him, shut that down once again. He does have the Blueberry available if he needs it, his Void Walker, so he's trying to get out that Counterspell Pet just to add additional pressure onto Danny Carey, so it's not going to be so easy for him to throw out those Cyclones if he needs it. But once again, a beautiful offensive clone coming out from Cyfoxy onto Danny Carey. Danny Carey and Vincent Wong both down to 50% all mana already, and there's still 2 minutes left until Damping. Just so much healing and so much pressure coming out from both sides.
Yeah, Zevs' Dark Soul is now just wearing off. Vincent Wong might be in trouble, though, caught into that stun. Way back over here, he has Psyche next to him, and the Spirit Link will have to come down. That's only his first Spirit Link, but that is it is going to be a big cooldown having to be used for him, and he may still be in trouble here. He's still taking so much damage from Smexon and Vanguards. The second Spirit Link comes down, but he doesn't have any teammates in it. Finally, Psyche will work his way over there and be able to get that extra healing from that. But Vincent Wong is just in so much trouble. This constant pressure coming out from Smexon and Vanguards. They're trying to turn it around on Danny Carey, but Sneaky Wong getting so low, down to 10% health. He doesn't have anything left, caught into that fear, and he's gonna go down.
Yeah, at the end there, Cyfoxy had his Incarnation, King of the Jungle, as well as Berserk Pop, trying to turn around and counter pressure a bit, but they just couldn't peel them off of Sneaky Wong. They just couldn't get him off him, and ultimately he went down.
Yeah, that was a great finish to that game for Luminosity, finding the will to turn it back around on a Dream Deferred and get that kill, pushing through so many cooldowns. But let's head over to Bajira at the analyst station to get his breakdown of that match.
Hey guys, now that was exactly the kind of performance that we're used to seeing from Team Luminosity and their Turbo Cleave. Electing to spend a lot of their time in the early game riding that Warlock, really trying to lock them down. Although later in the game, they made that swap over to the enemy team's Shaman, Sneaky Wong, and ended up being able to score the kill off of that. That being said, Dream Deferred, even though before the game they sounded relatively unconfident against Turbo Cleaves in general, they definitely put up a fight, and I would not count them out of the tournament just yet unless they count themselves out of this tournament. If they can step up to the plate and find a way to overcome Team Luminosity's Turbo Cleave, you know, they're right in this. However, this performance right here, throwing it into a nice swap onto the Shaman is definitely going to be something to look out for in this next game. They played that very smoothly, very up to code in terms of Turbo Cleave gameplay, and if they play another game like that, they're going to be moving on in this tournament. Let's throw it back to the casters.
Thanks so much, Bajira. Absolutely 100% agree. That was exactly what they needed in that matchup. So we're going to have to see next what map actually Dream Deferred would like to pick here. And they're going to actually take a second to really think about that and decide what map they want to go for here, because they are now in the losing position in this best of three. They need to be able to win this map and the next map if they want to come back. And of course, that third map, if they do manage to win this next one, the final map will be up to Luminosity to choose, and they'll have the opportunity to counter comp as well. So this is a very, very serious decision for them to have to make here. Which map do they go into in this second map? You don't want to give away too much, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you can actually win this one to move on to Game 3.
Yeah, I'm not sure which map will actually give them a big advantage. I think if they're able to pressure Danny Carries, that's when they were in a good situation. Every time they can connect to Danny Carries, get up their dots, put him in stuns, he just falls further and further behind as Zevs rots down Vanguard and Smexon. And like Bajir was saying, Dream Deferred needs to make sure that they're making the right decision. They're not getting in their heads. Although they're one game away from elimination, they're still very capable of moving on and actually defeating Luminosity. But Luminosity looking great in that game. Both teams looking great in that game. and I expect a very intense game 2.
Yeah, I have to say, just going back to the start of that first game, I don't know if they were expecting the Tree of Life form to come out of Danny Carey there, and it was a great choice by Danny Carey to go with Tree of Life because it gives you a whole bunch of extra armor while it's active and also lets you instant cast regrowths, which is just so huge for surviving through those ridiculous amounts of bursts that come early on when you're facing against a team like Dream Deferred with that Feral Warlock Shaman composition they were running. So I'm going to be really interested to see if Dream Deferred in this next map, if they're going to say, you know what, it was a fluke. Even though he had the broccoli form, he was able to keep himself alive. Maybe in this next match we can actually kill him through that. Maybe we can get a kill onto somebody else because then he won't get the benefit of the increased armor as much. I don't know. There's lots of different directions that they could take this. It looks like, however, they will actually, just looking at our screen here, we can see Jeff, the DK, in the back there. Looks like he's getting ready to sub in.
Looks like he is subbing in for Cyfoxy, so maybe they're going to be running that Death Knight Warlock Paladin. Maybe that's a composition they'll be coming out with, but I don't know. They need to be very careful. As we saw in the last matchup, that can end up biting you in the butt.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be... I'm excited to see Jeff coming out on his Death Knight. He's very, very tanky. It's very hard to actually kill him, and he can do a lot of burst damage. It's interesting, though, to see them, if they are, in fact, swapping out Cyfoxy for him, because I kind of would have expected to go with the DK and the Feral in this matchup against the Turbo Cleave, just because it gives you so much extra burst at that opener, and maybe just that little bit of extra burst would have been enough to get through Danny Carey's Tree of Life form. So it's an interesting swap to make if that is indeed what they're making. We haven't yet found out what map has been chosen, so hopefully we can find that out here very soon. I almost wonder if they're just like, before any of this has even happened, they're just like, you know what, whatever happens, whatever they pick, we're going with the DK in this next match.
Yeah, they do have that option, like you said, of running that Feral Druid, Death Knight, Paladin Cleave, and trying to run down and rush down Danny Carries, and that is a decent strategy. I mean, Feral Druids and Death Knights both known to do a lot of damage. Resto Druid's very susceptible to that, but I don't know if it's going to work on a team like Luminosity. Danny Carries best known for surviving. Like, when I've casted games and watched him play in the past, he does an excellent job rotating his defensive cooldowns, and I would have more confidence in him than anyone to survive an onslaught like that.
Oh, absolutely. He's so good at living through basically whatever you can throw at him. I'm really curious, though, like, if they are in fact making this Death Knight Warlock Paladin composition, the Shadow Cleave comp, if that is in fact what they're switching to, how do you think that would stem off of a map choice? Because again, we have not heard exactly yet which map they're going to choose. How do you think that would affect that? Because if they were going with the Feral DK, I would expect a much shorter map like a Ruins of Lordaeron, or maybe even a Dalaran Sewers. But with the Warlock in there instead, that kind of, you have the opportunity to play a little bit more defensively. So I don't know, maybe even like Tolvaron or something might make sense.
I think they might end up going with a smaller map, something like Ruins of Lordaeron or Dalaran Arena, just so they can keep up the pressure on Danny Carey. Every time they want, they can grip him in, have full dots on him, hodge him, and strangulate him. And that's a very powerful combination that DK Warlock Paladin has. And if they can sort of rinse and repeat that on Danny Carey, keep up the pressure on Vanguard and Smexton, they'll end up doing a lot of pressure to really everyone. It's going to be hard for Danny Carey to really heal through that damage.
Have we actually seen Ruins of Lordaeron yet in this in these regionals?
I actually don't think we've seen Ruins of Lordaeron one time. Have we seen, what's it called, Tiger's Peak?
I don't remember seeing Tiger's Peak either. I don't know. I actually don't remember. I don't believe that we've cast a game on that. It's possible that there was one that Supatees and VHL were casting. So that's a couple of maps that we haven't even seen either team pull out yet, and we've only seen Blade's Edge like once or twice either. Everybody's just kind of been sticking to Nagrand and then the Dalaran Sewers. We've seen so many teams playing on those, and Tolvaron as well.
What I think happens in these matchups a lot of the time is you start on Nagrand, very fair map. Then one team has a map where one team has a composition where they prefer a bigger map, and one team has a composition where they prefer a smaller map. And Dalaran and Tolvaron Arena are kind of like the bread and butter for a small map and a large map. So it's natural in a best of 3 that we wouldn't see the other two.
Yeah, it's something that's super interesting about now that we have the 4-player roster in place as well. That there's sort of this new metagame that's sort of coming out of this tournament as well. Is it going to turn into where people just sort of like then you naturally want to say on the first map we always play Nagrand, and then on the second map we want to switch into a comp that has those that sort of close range advantage and go after sewers all the time. It's really interesting to see that just the way that WoW Esports is continuing to develop with that 4-player roster in place and with the heavy comp switching that's been happening from all these teams.
Yeah, like you're saying, these teams, for the most part, there was only 2 teams in this tournament that didn't have 4 players, so that means all these guys have a lot of different compositions available to them. That being said, most of these teams have only 1 or 2 compositions that they mainly practice. Those are their most powerful setups. If they need to, they can bust out maybe like a 3rd setup to counter comp something specifically, but they usually just stick to what they're used to and what they practice the most.
Yeah, and one of the teams that's actually moved on to the semifinals, Juveniles, can literally only play RMD. They have 3 players here, and those 3 players are a rogue, a mage, and a druid, and that's all they play. So while the comp switching definitely is working out well for a lot of teams, like we saw Follow Esports use that extremely well to their advantage in the, or actually Method using it well to their advantage as well in that previous series. Teams like Juveniles just playing RMD, just like, well, we just got to be really good at RMD so that way we can defeat whatever other people throw at us. I've just been really excited, just on a personal level, really excited to see how really happy with how the 4-player roster is really adding all these extra mind games to the WoW Esports gameplay.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely an extra element, and like you were saying, Team Juveniles coming in with that RMD. I think after watching the games yesterday, just talking about the teams that are still in the top 4, they definitely impressed me the most. But the other teams, Temple Storm, as well as who else is in the upper bracket?
There's Tempo Storm, there's Juveniles, and there is the other one that just qualified, Follow Esports.
Yeah, Follow Esports. Sorry about that. Brain fart. But yeah.
It literally just happened like right before we came on, so it's
all 3 of those
understandable.
teams very capable of winning this tournament. But like I said yesterday, I really think Juveniles impressed me the most. They are playing that 3-man roster. They're going to be sticking to RMD exclusively, and yeah, it's going to be really exciting to see which team comes out of this matchup and moves up to that upper bracket with the 4 teams to compete.
Yep. So it looks like we are still just trying to figure out exactly what is going on between these 2 teams. So it'll be just a couple minutes longer before we can get this underway. But we will be getting these matches going here very, very shortly. Obviously, we want both teams to be playing at their best once they come into this this next match, because it's super, super important, especially for Dream Deferred, because if they lose this next map, they will be out of the tournament. Whereas Luminosity, they can kind of afford to lose this next one and then say, okay, you know what, we'll come back on our map pick, our comp pick, and then we'll be able to close out the series from there. So this is going to be super important for Dream Deferred. We obviously want to give them as much time as they need to make sure they're ready to go.
Yeah, and winning that first matchup, like you said, is a much bigger advantage than a lot of people think. So Luminosity now in a very comfortable position. Dream Deferred going to be selecting the map and then responding to whatever comp Luminosity decides to pick, which will most likely be Turbo. So they get to decide what they ultimately want to run against that. But then, I mean, if Luminosity, even if they lose this matchup, they're going to know what Dream Deferred is playing, and they're going to have their map choice too. So they're going to have a big advantage going into these next 2 games.
For sure. So we do have Bajira over at the analyst station ready to give us some breakdown on how he feels going into this next match. Take it away, Bajira.
Hey guys, while those teams are getting set up, I wanted to provide some insight on perhaps why Dream Deferred decided to swap over to Jeff. Not just because he's the team captain, not just because he wants to take this match, this potentially deciding match, in his own hands. I think that one of the weaknesses of Turbo Cleave is the fact that the Resto Druid is probably the squishiest part of the team. And let me rephrase that. If Turbo Cleave has a weakness, it's in the Resto Druid. And one of the things that the Shadow Cleave team can do, and we've seen them do it before to great effect, is the Death Grip on the Druid, into a Fist of Justice on the Druid, into a full Strangulate on the Druid as well. So this is quite a bit of CC, gripping him into the team, CCing them, and dumping damage into them as much as possible. This is both going to lock him down so he can't heal himself on the incoming damage, but also Death Knights and Warlocks do a lot of AoE pressure as well. So if they're also able to CC Vanguards during this time, it's going to prevent a lot of AoE healing that Vanguard is going to be able to do, which is going to rot the entire team down quite a bit and give the Shadow Cleave a lot more options in terms of what they want to do. Now, the unfortunate thing for the Shadow Cleave is that, as we know about Danny Carey, he has a hard Druid to get a handle on. I remember talking about this last cup. He has a slippery Druid, able to escape extremely dire situations with a sliver of health, But that is exactly the kind of team play, or exactly the kind of individual play that we're going to look to see in this tournament, because that's the sort of thing that really elevates you as a player, really brings you to the next level, and the next level is what these guys have their eye on. So another thing to keep in mind is that this is some sort of insider information. We saw Jeff playing a lot of Unholy in the practice rounds. So we didn't see him play Unholy yesterday. He stuck with his guns. He played Frost. He knew what he was doing with Frost. You know, lots of burst damage coming from that Frost spec, so it makes a lot of sense. However, with Unholy, it adds one extra stun to that healer swap combo. And even though you do want to burst a Resto Druid as much as possible, I think the Unholy pressure stacking on the entire team and maybe just that little extra stun could be exactly what this team needs to overcome Team Luminosity's Turbo Cleave. We're going to go ahead and throw it back to the casters, see if we can get these games going for you guys.
Thanks so much, Bajira. And these games are just about to get underway. We are now zoning into the map, and we will be getting into this match here very, very shortly. It looks like the map that has been chosen is going to be Blade's Edge Arena. And we may actually have a little bit longer of a delay. It sounds like maybe there is some sort of problem going on in one of the player pods, so we may not be ready to get into this map just yet. But we do now know which map has been chosen and exactly which compositions they'll be playing. We will be on Blade's Edge Arena, like I was saying. We have Luminosity, we'll be playing Turbo Cleave, and we have Dream Deferred, who will be playing that DK, Warlock, and Paladin. It sounds like actually we're good to go. We're going to be getting into this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we said, Jeff, Zevs, and Vincent Wong going up against Smex and Vanguards and Danny Carries. We're going to be, I believe the reason they selected this map is because Zevs is going to have that Z-axis port. He will probably be the target of choice for Smex and Vanguards, and he's going to be able to get away quite easily because of that. And they're going to be able to connect onto Danny Carries, but here we go. This last round, Dream Deferred's tournament life on the line. Luminosity coming out right away. They have Recklessness pop. Vanguard's immediately opening up onto Vincent Wong. He's going to bop himself out of that. Zev's taking a little bit of damage. Vincent Wong responding with the wings right away, trying to empower his healing. Danny Carey getting gripped in, using that bark skin. He still has Trinket and Iron Bark available if he needs it. Getting the safeguard from Smexon as well. Both teams coming out of the gates very strong.
Yeah. Danny Carey actually just sitting here, so it looks like maybe we do have actually some sort of issue going on in here. It looks like both teams are now just starting to go back, and yes, in fact, we will be replaying this game. There's some sort of technical issue going on. That's fine. It'll go ahead and get that replayed. That's why we have admins around making sure that everything goes absolutely perfectly in these matches, and it's just perfectly fine. Oop, they're having a problem. We're going to step back. We're going to replay this game. Nothing terribly important really happened in the start of that match. It wasn't like sometimes it sucks if you have like a rogue comp and they manage to get off that perfect opener, and then someone has a problem. It's like, oh crap, now we got to try and get the perfect opener again. But in this map, nothing really major happened there. Wasn't a big deal. We're just going to go ahead and replay it.
Yeah, both teams, like we said, came out of the gates very strong. We saw Vanguards and Smexon blowing their offensive cooldown, Zevs and Black Jeff as well, trying to just get out as much pressure as possible. And we're going to see time and time again from Dream Deferred, what they're going to be doing is they're going to have dots onto Danny Carey, so Zevs is going to load him up with that Affliction Warlock damage, and whenever they can, Jeff is going to grip Danny Carey in, they're going to hodge him, put him into a stun, and then strangulate him. And that's going to be what we see over and over and over, and that's how they're going to be building up all their pressure against Luminosity.
Yeah, that Death Grip into Fist of Justice combo, or even just Hammer of Justice, if for some reason he decided to run something else. Having that combination available is just really how these teams are really able to how this team is going to be able to continue to put so much damage into the opposing team, and that's really how they're going to be able to score the win here. So I'm really excited to see how well that's going to end up working out for them. Of course, we are working through these technical difficulties as quickly as possible. It's kind of just what we're sort of stuck with as esports. Unfortunately, we're kind of victims to technology in some cases, but it's fine. We've got our best people in there working it out immediately, and they will be going into this next match as soon as possible. Yep, so just as soon as this is ready, we will be getting into that match like I was saying. I believe that on Blade's Edge Arena, like we were seeing earlier, we actually saw it there for just a second. It's going to be very easy for Danny Carey to drop down into underneath the bridge and be able to get away for just a second. That's going to be very helpful for the Warlock as well to be able to use that portal back up. It's going to be super interesting to see how well they're actually able to use that to their advantage in this matchup, just because we do have obviously so much damage that's capable to be put out by both teams. I'm going to be really watching for how they actually use that bridge, the above the bridge area, the below the bridge area. A lot of times you actually see teams that want to spend basically the entire thing underneath the bridge. They want to live down under there because there's a lot of line of sight blockers. It's actually even closer range than a map like Ruins of Lordaeron or Dalaran Sewers. If you can manage to get the other team to stay underneath the bridge with you, you can actually use a ton of abilities to get out of line of sight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we're going to see on this map, because they selected Blade Jets, like we said, Zevs is going to have access to that Z-axis port, so he's going to be able to jump off the bridge and basically bait Vanguards and Spexen down. But I think what Luminosity is going to have to do is every time Zevs jumps off, just make sure to pressure Vincent Wong. He's going to have to chase Zevs, top him off, and what's going to happen if they go on Vincent Wong is he's not going to have an opportunity to actually top off Zevs. He's going to be under pressure, under fire himself, and it's just going to keep up the pressure a lot better than them actually jumping off the bridge and having to run back up.
Yep, so we have worked through the technical difficulties, got that all sorted out, and we will be getting into this match for reals this time, coming in here to Blade's Edge Arena. This is going to be Game 2 between Dream Deferred and Luminosity. Dream Deferred down 0-1 versus Luminosity. This is their tournament life on the line here. They need to score a win here and then push it to Game 3 and win that Game 3 if they want to continue on to the semifinals.
And at the same time, Luminosity 1 game away from making it into the top 4, so you know both of these teams want to win this. This is a very, very important match, and we're going to have to see how Smex and Vanguards and Danny Carries adjust to Jeff, Zevs, and Vincent Wong playing the Shadow Cleave.
Yeah, we will be watching, like you were saying earlier, for that Death Grip into Fists of Justice combo. And Dream Deferred has done that so brilliantly in the past as well. It would not be surprising at all to me to see someone just immediately get annihilated through that combo. I could see Danny Carey even, like if he doesn't get that pre-Iron Bark off before that goes off, someone could just up and die in a hurry. So we're going to follow Jeff out of the gate here. He's going directly up the ramp here and immediately coming over here. And actually, wow, he's actually going to turn around and try to go after, actually get back to his team, maybe going after Vanguards over here.
Yeah, he was just trying to slow down Smexen and Vanguards the best he could. Vanguard's getting open onto, taking a lot of damage early on. Vincent Wong using that Avenging Wrath right away, wants to make sure his team doesn't fall behind. Also bopping himself immediately. I think he was just trying to prevent a little bit of damage on himself. I didn't see the fear come out from Smexen there. Zevs down to 50% HP. Vincent Wong still has those wings up for 10 seconds, so he's going to be completely fine. Now we see that Death Grip into Hodge combo on Danny Carey. He's going to have to Barskin that immediately, and the next time that happens, he's not going to have that Barskin available and will likely see his Trinket.
Yeah, Zev's in trouble there for just a second, but did manage to use that Z-axis port you were talking about, just getting back up onto the bridge where he has been able to recover a little bit with some heals from Vincent Wong. Does get caught into a Cyclone, which he immediately trinkets and then jumps back down below the bridge yet again. Does he have his port back up by now? I don't know if he actually does just yet. Maybe he has to survive down here for just a second. Does get caught into that really short Cyclone yet again. Could actually be in a lot of trouble down here as Vincent Wong is now caught in that Stormbolt, having to use his Divine Shield and a bubble onto Zevs as well. Zevs actually taking a lot of damage right now. That's a lot of cooldowns that's come out from Vincent Wong.
Yeah, this is looking terrible for Dream Deferred. Vincent Wong now has no cooldowns remaining. He does have his wings up in 23 seconds. He's going to need it, though. I don't know if they can last much longer. Vanguard's taking a little bit of pressure as they did Hodge up Danny Carey there. But Jeff, Zevs, and Vincent Wong all on the back foot. Smexen having that Recklessness coming up in 2 minutes, as well as Vanguard's Ascendance in 2 minutes. I don't know if they're going to need it, though. The Strangulate going out on Danny Carey's. He's just going to Barkskin that. He still has his Trinket available if he needs it for the next swap. The full Stormbolt, though, going out onto Vincent Wong. They're connecting the best they can onto Jeff, just pressuring him as Zevs is just jumping down, like we said, with that Z-axis port, running away every time they hit him. But I like what Vanguards and Spexen are doing. They're making sure they don't chase him, and they're pressuring Vincent Wong, so he's having a really hard time healing through this damage. His Avenging Wrath is up right now, so he's likely going to be able to top his team off. But once those fade, they're going to be in big trouble.
Yeah, it's actually a great choice by Vanguards and Spexen, because when Zevs jumps down, they know if they jump down, Zevs is just going to port right back up anyway. So what they do is they swap over onto Vincent Wong, put some pressure into him. They know he doesn't have much in the way of cooldowns left. left, and they can just basically force Zevs to come back up because he's going to need to peel for Vincent Wong at that point using like his Shadow Fury and such. Vincent Wong may be in a little bit of trouble here. Vanguard's was dipping pretty low there for just a second, but actually they're turning it around onto Jeff at the moment. He's got the Pillar of Frost active. He's trying to deal as much damage as he possibly can, but Vincent Wong caught into that full Cyclone, has no way to get out of that. The AMS comes out from Jeff, but it just doesn't do that much against this team. It slows down a little bit of Vanguard's damage, but now the triple Shadow Fury, double Shadow Fury out onto Vanguard's and Danny Carey, forcing out the Iron Bark and the Bark Skin, as Danny Carey now having to struggle a little bit to keep his team back topped off.
Yeah, he got a beautiful Tranquility out that hit every single one of his teammates, topped them all off, but like you said, he used his Bark Skin and his Iron Bark there. He hasn't used his Trinket yet this game, and Ascendance is coming out for Vanguards in 10 seconds. This is going to be horrifying for Vincent Wong, who still doesn't have his wings up. Actually, they're going to be up. They're going to line up quite well, so that was well done by him if that was intentional. Vincent Wong still getting pressured down. He can't get away. He doesn't have that gateway up just yet. Down to 30% HP. Saved by the Light is going to proc it. They shred it through it instantly. This is Recklessness coming out of Smex and down to 15%. Is he going to live? No, he's not. The Execute comes out, and Dream Deferred is knocked out of this tournament. Luminosity taking this series 2-0.
Yeah, that was just beautifully played by Luminosity. They were so in control that entire match, just doing so well to be able to pull all of those cooldowns out of Dream Deferred so early on. Vincent Wong had to use everything so early into that match, and then he just did not have anything left once it came down to it later on. So we are going to go over to Bajira at the analyst station, get his breakdown on that amazing series.
So throughout the tournament, we've talked about the strength of Luminosity, and I think it really showed in that game. Dreams Deferred did decide to swap up their comp a little bit, going for that Shadow Cleave that they are known for. Unfortunately, it did not seem to be an advantageous swap for them. Right off the bat, Luminosity took out the Warlock pet while cleaving the Paladin of Vincent Wong there. And once they established that cleave pressure, once they knocked out some of the utility that Dream Deferred had in terms of the CS pet, it was also going to make Zevs take additional damage every time they hit him. So Zevs was able to kite around, jumping up back onto the bridge, porting back up there whenever he could. But rather than trying to follow him, Luminosity was more than content to swap that damage back over to Vincent Wong, and that strategy, consistent, swapping back and forth, not getting too overextended or anything like that, netted them a very, very solid win and moves them on into the tournament. We're going to be talking to them very, very soon, but before we do that, back to the casters.
Thanks again, Bajira. Excellent analysis as always. And yeah, Luminosity just really looked so confident and so well prepared for that match. It really showed how strong Luminosity has been all the way through the qualifiers. We kept saying Luminosity, Luminosity, Luminosity. They didn't qualify until the last qualifier, but every single qualifier cup they played in, they were just shy of qualifying. And they've been one of the most consistent teams through this entire tournament so far. So congratulations to them. They absolutely deserve that.
Yeah, they did get knocked out down to the losers bracket by Team Juveniles, but I think yesterday they might have had like some first day jitters. Today it looks like they're a lot more focused. They'll be coming in playing, I believe, Temple Storm next, and they look good.
Yeah, that's a scary team to have to go up against as well. But we do have Bajira over with team captain of Luminosity for the winner's interview. Let's check that out.
All right, guys, I'm joined once again by Team Luminosity Captain Vanguard. This is the guy that we've been seeing a lot of over here at the analyst station, so definitely got to be proud of that win. Walk me through the first game. It seemed like the FLS gave maybe a little more problems than the Shadow Cleave there. What sort of motivated the swap, do you think? If FLS was working well, why bring out the Shadow Cleave?
I think against that team, it's been pretty unlucky for them to get us in any brackets because we pretty much hard counted most of the comps they run. So I think they were like just trying different stuff to see what their best chance was. Because I think they actually beat another turbo with FLS. I think that's why they chose the FLS first, was because they beat that turbo. But I think no matter what they play, we have the comp advantage, and that's just what World of Warcraft is, sadly.
Do you think that having fought you guys in the ladder a lot, having fought you guys maybe in other tournaments before, and you guys having a consistently dominant performance, regardless of comp, do you think that you guys got in their head a little bit, consistently beating them in tournaments, consistently beating them on ladder?
Oh, yeah, I think it's just, like I said, us having turbo, it's kind of like us and RMD. I think, we lost to Juvenile, now we're fighting Temple Storm, I guess. Like, It's just, there's some comps when good players are playing. You know, if we play like a lower tier team, you know, we could be, you know, we can beat a counter, but sometimes counters are just like too much when like the best players play it.
So that is a very nice segue. You guys will be facing RMD next, and you do feel like you're at a bit of a comp disadvantage there. What's your plan against RMD? Obviously, don't give any top secret advice here, but what are you guys going to be doing?
Well, we've tried some different things, and we think we didn't play very well yesterday. Like, I do think it's going to be really hard for us regardless, but I did feel we played maybe poorly yesterday, maybe some wrong choices on what we were trying, because we were kind of experimenting too. I think it's actually a very similar situation. You know, we're just trying stuff. It's almost at that point.
Yeah.
I think the pre-10% Affliction Lock nerfs, we were guaranteed to play Affliction LSD, because that's actually what we beat RMD with in order to qualify. But at this point, I think we're going to go back to what we've been doing instead of trying stuff at this point.
Okay, so one more question about the bracket. So considering you guys have a chance to play against RMD, that's a tough matchup for you. Even if you do go down that next round, you still have a chance to play into BlizzCon. How do you feel if, for example, you have to face either another RMD? We know how you feel about other RMDs, but then again, you also have maybe another FLS that you might have to face. I mean, are you feeling confident that you can still make it to BlizzCon?
I think this is really dependent, because like you said, it's probably going to be, it could be RMD into RMD, and if that happens, getting knocked out, because we lost the second qualifier to RMD, and we lost our first game and got on the ropes because of RMD, and our next game is against RMD, and we might lose the tournament because of RMD. So it's a bit of a pattern, but we're hoping to finally break it, of course.
All right, well, you guys have consistently demonstrated that you guys definitely know how to play in tournaments, definitely have the potential to step it up, and your games so far have been awesome, and I'm definitely excited to see you guys progress in this tournament. We are going to throw it to a quick break now, but we'll be back with more arena matches very, very soon.